In the last video we looked at setting up reverb channels or effects send channels. So I've gone ahead and added another one. So we've got a room, a plate, reverb, and also I've added a chorus on there as well. So as we go to any of our channels now, say on the drums, if I wanted to add any effects, I go to the sends for each individual drum, and in the first empty slot at the top I've got the choice of adding a room, reverb, a plate or a chorus. And I can obviously go on and add up to 8 sends per channel. It's unlikely that we'd use any more than 2 or 3, to be honest, but you've got the opportunity to if you want to. So what I'm going to do is go back again and listen to the original track. So let's listen to the bass at the beginning. Okay, it doesn't seem to have a lot of reverb on it, but at the same time, if we listen to our version, solo just our bass sounds. Okay, ours don't seem to have the same punch, and they seem to sound a little bit too dry, so we need to just sort of add a bit of sparkle to them with a little bit of reverb. So across the bass sounds, it's going to be a bit difficult if we have to add reverb to each individual one, because there's like 4 different things there that are making up the bass sound, or yeah, 4 different sounds. So remember we set up this group track earlier, which was the bass group. So if I then open up the bass group, so select it and go over to the sends for the bass group, I can then add a little bit of that room reverb that we created. So turn it on using the power switch there, and then turn up the level. Okay, so a difference, see what difference that makes. Okay, let's just turn the solo off. Okay, so I can gradually turn the reverb up and down until I get the kind of desired effect. Again, can you hear the difference it's making? A slight sparkle at the top end. We don't want it to ring out too much because the original doesn't, but there's no reverb. Okay, that's the sort of effect that we're after. So we've managed to improve the bass sound slightly there, giving it a little bit more life, not so dry anymore. Next stage will be to go through and start adding different types of reverb to different parts of the mix. So if I go to my drums next, again listen to the original, let's have a quick listen to what the drums are like. Okay, so the snare drum in particular seems to have a lot of reverb on it, so let's start with that then. So turn the original off, and let's solo our drums, or particularly just the snare. So select the sends for the snare, and let's try the plate reverb first. Okay, turn the solo off and back on again. Okay, so now we can hear the reverb. Okay, let's take these mutes off. So that's with the reverb on the snare, that's without. Okay, so it's much nicer when you listen to it in the mix, and it makes the snare sound a lot bigger, gives it more depth. We can now go through, we can do the same sort of thing for the hand claps. Maybe they'd need a different amount, but we'd probably use the plate reverb again, and we just turn it up until we can start to hear it on the claps. Okay, so that seems like quite a good amount, and we can go through for all the separate individual instruments. It's very rare that we add an awful lot of reverb to the kick drum. What we'd rather do probably is use the room reverb on the kick drum. That's not as noticeable, because the kick drum can start to sound sloppy if it's got too much reverb on it. So already we're getting much higher quality than we got from the reverbs that were built into the sounds, and the kit starts to glue together with the other sounds much more. Especially on the snare, that plate reverb sounds really nice.